Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Our final interview of the morning, and we are talking with Zaki Mamdoo. I see here in my introduction it says 100 Young Mandelas 2023, Zaki Mamdoo, Climate Literacy and Sustainability Champion. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam, and thank you for having me, and good morning to yourself and to the viewers.
Lovely to be talking to you. Tell me, what's this 100 Young Mandelas 2023 all about? Are you one of them? Alhamdulillah, I should imagine so.
Yeah, it actually, look, I think it's a kind of accolade that is given to young people in South Africa by News 24. It came as a bit of a surprise to me yesterday morning. I still have no clue who put forward my nomination and threw my name in the ring, as it were. But essentially woke up yesterday and was receiving some congratulatory messages.
Subhanallah, that's wonderful. We salute you as well. We're going to get to the obviously the issue around the Stop East African Crude Oil Pipeline in a minute or two. But what do you do in your real life?
Well, that is what I do in my real life.
Okay, is it a full-time job?
Right, I'm a full-time activist, and so currently working as the coordinator of the StopEACOP Campaign and coalition, but also engaged in various forms of activism in South Africa as well, in the labor space as well as within the youth and student movements. Yeah, but that is my full-time job, and where a lot of my time goes to is in building the campaign that sets out to confront the development and construction of the world's longest heated crude oil pipeline.
Okay, I'm going to ask you how you found yourself in this space, but when I look at your surname Mamdoo, it does tell me that the Mamdoos were activists way back in the day as well, ex-Fitas, Fordsburg, etc. Are you of that same family?
I am, yeah. So, yeah, I'm cut from the same cloth, as it were, and so very much grew up in a family with a strong, social conscience and commitment to human rights, and with a deep rooted history in activism and change making.
Alhamdulillah. Talk to us about what EACOP is all about. How long has this been going on? And are you confident that your voices will be heard and some, I guess, common sense will prevail? Because when we look at issues like EACOP, when we look at the issue around the environment, when we look at the issue around, these crude oil pipelines, these large corporates, international corporates, for them, it is all about bottom line. It's about profitability. But in the interim, and even though they make small gestures of supposedly uplifting the communities along the way, we do know that they create a lot of devastation to, I should imagine, virgin fields, to the ongoing generations in that area with all of the pollution that they leave behind. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. The project in itself is an incredibly damaging one. And it has been detrimental to communities within Uganda and Tanzania, hundreds of communities who are really on the front lines of the project's development. The pipeline itself is set to be constructed, from the region of Hoima in western Uganda, transporting oil from the oil blocks of Kingfisher and Tilenga in Murchison Falls National Park, as well as on the shores of Lake Albert, all the way through Uganda into Tanzania and to the coast of Tanga, where the oil itself will primarily be exported into international markets and to serve the kind of energy needs abroad. And even before the construction of the pipeline itself, it's a project that has been, surrounded in all sorts of controversy, specifically because of the incredibly problematic process of land acquisition that has been ongoing for some time now, where communities have been inadequately and unfairly compensated. They've been intimidated and threatened and pressured into signing contracts and agreements to give up their land, and in the process have lost livelihood, have lost access to to basic services such as education and healthcare, and really have gained marginally, if at all. And those who have opposed, this project and who have asserted themselves as, legitimate stakeholders in saying no, that this is not the form of development that we want to pursue, have been quite brutally repressed. And there's been many activists who have been arrested, who have been arbitrarily detained, kept in detention. Others who have faced threats and intimidation, CSOs who have had their offices raided, etc., etc. And so that's something that's been of major concern is the kind of human rights violations that have surrounded this project from the very beginning and up until now. I see the pictures that you had just shared on the screen, actually just from 2 weeks ago, where activists in Uganda were protesting against the pipeline and were locked up and arrested for staging a peaceful demonstration.
This sounds very much like what played out several years ago with the in South America and the deforestation of the Amazon jungles, etc. So it's like it's what's going to be repeated in North Africa, Central and North Africa, I should imagine. And of course, this particular situation with Stop EACOP campaign, I'm kind of wondering, even though we've seen pictures of locals protesting, you are going to, I should imagine, get a lot of pushback by some of the locals and possibly the poorest of the poor who are being offered monies for their land and probably also promises of jobs. They've probably been going hungry for years on end. They manage to eke out a living and possibly can't even make it to the end of the day. And that is where your biggest pushback is going to come from. How do you deal with that?
Well, look, in many ways, that's not actually the case. I think what you find in Uganda specifically is that there is an incredibly rich local economy which is rooted in agriculture, and subsistence farming, where people have been able to produce what they need in order to eke out a living. Of course, nothing lavish by any standards, but in order to produce enough food to eat, and in order to survive and provide for their families. And so what you're finding now is that all of that is being disrupted in a major way, where yes, when the project first came to the fore and people were made promises of jobs and compensation for the lands, etc., etc., there understandably and obviously is a huge degree of excitement and hope in that the project itself might bring some sort of prosperity and some sort of betterment, to people's material conditions. However, that compensation process has been ongoing, and it is the case that the vast majority of people who have been compensated and given some form of remuneration for their land have received very little, and not enough to reclaim the lifestyles that they once had, and certainly not enough to better those lifestyles. And so what you're finding now is those very same communities who were made these false promises are incredibly unhappy and in fact struggling more than they were. And families and kind of social structures have all collapsed in many ways and been absolutely disrupted as a result of this. And so the main people who would pursue that kind of argument would be the proponents of the project itself, the project officials, as well as state officials within Uganda and within Tanzania. But those arguments don't hold up. They don't hold up in our eyes, certainly in the eyes of the global climate justice movement, but also in the eyes of many frontline communities and land defenders, in that it's simply untrue. We know for a fact that most of the jobs that would come of this project are incredibly short term. They wouldn't offer any meaningful or long-standing income for frontline communities. Um, and of course, also most of them would be menial and low-paid jobs where people would have their labor, exploited, and again wouldn't have much to show for it. Um, but also the disruption to the livelihoods that people currently depend on, and the lifestyles that people currently live are immeasurable. And there are no real mechanisms in place to protect against the loss of that, and to make sure that those communities are not actually left worse off, which is the case.
So, Zaki, how much of inroads have you guys made to
Mm.
stop the pipeline going ahead? Have Total Energies already started with work on the specific sites in that part of Africa? And do you truly think that you guys would be able to stop this project from going ahead?
So the biggest kind of successes of the campaign have been the way in which the campaign itself has been able to block the flow of money into the project. And so to date, there are 27 major commercial banks and 24 insurance companies who have already come out and publicly committed that they will not provide any sort of support and funding for the pipeline. And a number of those are institutions that had previously been incredibly interested in supporting it, or who were in fact serving as some sort of financial advisor, whatever it may be, to the project itself. And so that's a major success, is that to date the pipeline has been, and the project has been unable to reach financial close, because activists around the world have exerted so much pressure on the financial actors that they've really slowed down and blocked the flow of money into the pipeline itself. And for that reason, what you have is the land acquisition process is drawing to a close, but zero construction has started on the pipeline itself. But there has been construction of the various oil drilling sites, and that is ongoing. And in some places, like the Kingfisher oil drilling site on Lake Albert, that is now drawing to a close. But without the pipeline, there's no way that oil can really be extracted, at least not at the kind of scale that they had envisioned, because you need the pipeline to transport the oil. And so, yes, I think there's definitely hope. There's definitely hope, but there is a lot of work to be done as well. What we're seeing now is, as more and more of the kind of Western financial institutions pull out and succumb to the pressure that's been placed on them, we believe that actors within China, and within the Middle East, but also from perhaps even from Africa, smaller development banks and so forth, might come out as larger players and as more kind of certain sponsors of the project itself. And so there's work to be done, and hoping that the viewers here would be interested in getting involved as well. And if so, you can visit the StopEACOP website, stopeacop.net, and learn about the different ways in which ordinary people can play a part in halting and stopping this incredibly destructive project.
Okay, we're going to wrap up, but I need to read out a comment here. It sounds very damning indeed. It says that the rampant floods in Kasenyi, where Total slashed trees to pave way for the industrial area, is drowning gardens. This has led food. This has led to food insecurity, and locals are renting land to farm. Wells are also submerged. You
Mm,
obviously are aware of that situation,
absolutely, yeah.
causing a lot of
Um,
hardship.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look, that just goes to show the kind of level of destruction to the environment that this project stands to create. Where this construction has begun, this is what already is coming out, where this kind of flooding and as a result of the various construction sites is causing incredible harm to people's homes, but in that to people's livelihoods, because of the way in which people exist as farmers, and produce their own food, and that's what they depend on. Yeah.
We're going to have to leave it there. One of the 100 Young Mandelas 2023, Zaki Mamdoo. He obviously is an activist, climate literacy and sustainability. He is obviously working currently on the ECOP campaign. And I'd also like to say hats off to you for that sign that I see at the back of your head. It says justice for all in Palestine. Alhamdulillah. Keep that flag flying as high as you possibly can. And with all of your activism work, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all efforts. Lovely talking to you. Keep up the good work. And salamu alaikum to you, Zaki Mamdoo.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me.
And that's where we leave it. It is exactly 10 after 10 this Wednesday morning. That means you only see me once again on Monday morning next week at exactly 8 o'clock. In the meanwhile, keep safe, drive carefully, and also keep warm. Remember, there's a cold spell coming our way, a very cold spell, might I add. So do keep warm. A big shout out to you, Nasrin Naidu, the producer of the show, and of course, the guy behind the controls, and that's you, Abdul Salam. Till Monday, Assalamu alaikum and Khudafiz. From me, Julie Ali.
James. Abedi area Mikasenyi. Pi matota lo tika nyoto. Bamuka tuwa madhu pi makony paripe. Man watika nwango tuo. Chalo kakai ye. Pi dungu mayelo. Dungu watika ngiongonya tiyo kamatango. Watika madhu tuo. Anke gin mangado wanyango goye. Izote yelo.